Hello, hello, and welcome back to actually our final episode on this series of Voices of Influence, a series that inspires and empowers. And over the last couple of months, I've had the opportunity to just chat, connect, and bring to you, oh gosh, just an array of professionals that are truly inspiring us every day in the work that they do and the passion that they hold in their hearts for everything that they bring to their communities, to their lives, to their families. And today's no different. I keep sharing this with you over and over, and I think if you've been tuning in week over week, you know that I have a special place in my heart for the authors of Hispanic Stars Rising. And here we go again, another author. And I want to introduce to you Jeannie Marmol. She is the founder of Millionaire Latina, and I can't wait to hear more of that. But before we even dive in, I just want to say thank you to Jeannie, and I want to turn it over to you, Jeannie, and really, tell us a little bit about who Jeannie Manuel is, and we'll dive right in because there's so much that I would love to hear from you. But take it over. Let us know who Jeannie is.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm humble that you asked me to be on this and talk to you and your audience about some of my struggles and challenges and who I am. So I'm really, really grateful, Chris, for this opportunity. But I'll tell you a little bit of myself and we'll dig into a whole conversation, right? So Jeannie Marmol, like you mentioned, founder of Millionaire Latina, and Millionaire Latina is really just a consulting group about financial freedom, whatever that means to you. So we're really focused on making sure that it's in your own context of what being a millionaire is, and allowing people to understand and know that it doesn't matter where you are or where you started. It can still be happen for you, right? With the right guidance and knowledge and information, which I think we lack, it can happen. And you then redefining that context, what it means to you. For some people, it's going to be moving back to their country and living on a farm. For some other people, it's going to mean buying a $5 million, condo in Soho. Whatever that means for you, it's what's really important here, because we have to kind of open up that definition and realize that feeling like a millionaire, being a millionaire, has more to do than just the dollar signs behind someone's name. So a little more about me. I am Dominican. I got into the U.S. to New York when I was 5. My mom, who is my hero, is super courageous. At the age of 20, so she had me at 15. Yes, a 15 young woman, never finished high school, gets a visa to the U.S. Don't ask me how. It's by luck, and we traveled to New York City. At that point, and this is back in the 80s. So if you know anything about New York City in the 80s, it was a tough, tough place. We spent the first couple of years kind of going from one person's home to the other. So, for lack of a better word, we were homeless the first couple of years into she got, thank God, Section 8, which really helped us with kind of getting a home and being able to be stable. But she had courageous and courage that I cannot even explain. And maybe that's where I get some of my courage stuff that I wrote about in the book. And we moved there, and I was young, and I promised her that I would study and do everything I could to help our family kind of have a better lifestyle and a better future. And I studied really hard and had some great mentors. And in middle school, so I was in Harlem. So I grew up in Harlem, and Harlem was a really tough place to be at. Limited resources, education was not great. The expectation was that young women will become pregnant and drop out of high school. And that graduation rate was like 20% in the high schools. But I met a great teacher that said, look, you do really well when it comes to books, and you can see your focus and wanting to really do better. There's a scholarship. In that moment really changed my life, right? So I applied for this scholarship called a Better Chance Scholarship, where they take you and then they put you in schools outside your areas where you can study and do really well. And there's counseling, so it's like a boarding school scenario. And she said, hey, there's one scholarship for 3,000 kids, but you never know. I said, hey, what the hell? I applied. I was 12 years old, 13 years old. I tried to explain to my mother what I was doing. She didn't really understand. And I figured, hey, this is such a long shot that I'm not even going to worry about it too much. Well, lo and behold, a year in change into it, I get a phone call one night. And I would never forget this moment, right? I'm in my late 40s now, but it feels like when I think about that moment, like it was yesterday, and said, hey, you got this scholarship and you're going. And that pivotal, that moment, if you have to pick one moment that really changed your life in a different direction, that moment. And it all came from this one teacher that said, hey, I see the passion and focus. Let's try this, right? And that's what I try to do now. So that one person really changed the direction of my life at that point. And now I try to do that for others, right? So people say, hey, one person cannot change the world. You don't have to change the world. You got to change and help the people around you. And then that's going to change. They're going to go out and do the same thing. And that's how we change the world. And after that, it was amazing. I ended up going to this boarding school, had a great education, super tough because I thought I was super smart when I got there. When I got there, I was like, oh my God, I'm so behind. What was I thinking? And I did that for 4 years, and they helped me get into a great college. So then I ended up going to Mount Holyoke, and that was a great experience, and I loved every second of it. And then I thought I was going to go get my MBA or my master's in psychology because that was my degree. And then JP Morgan recruited me as a senior, even though I didn't have a finance background. As a senior, they love my personality. They love my willingness to work and be able to just talk to anyone at any time. And they say, hey, we have a management program. You should try it. It's back in New York. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to go home. I haven't been home in 8 years. So, okay, I'll try it. I'll do it for a year and then go back to applying to grad school. Well, I went with them and 20 years went by.
Oh,
wow. So yeah, the 1 year plan never happened. I ended up loving and falling in love with finance. I ended up doing all kinds of roles at JP Morgan in the consumer side. I was an executive there. I ended up leading a massive team of over 100 people and $6 billion in assets. I ended up going to Columbia and getting my MBA in finance from Columbia University. So it was amazing experience, right? And of course, there were challenges to all that. And if people have questions, we can talk about that. But then the pandemic happened.
yeah. So before we get into that, because I think that is, you're about to share something pretty powerful. But before we get into the point of the pandemic, how do you feel that moment where you were approached by this teacher, where you had this scholarship? How do you feel that has influenced, or has it, just the way that you live, the way that you support others in this time?
I mean, I think about that teacher all the time. And another beautiful thing is that she went all the way to my college graduation. So she was involved throughout the entire process. And it truly is a testament to the fact that one person can really make a difference. And she didn't go out and spend money, and she didn't go out. She was just doing what she thought it was right, which was providing me information and guidance. That's it. And that one thing really changed the whole next level of my life, the trajectory. I mean, could I have done amazing things beyond that? Absolutely, right? We can go back and say, you always had the passion and the confidence you were going to do great things anyway, right? But I don't think I would have done that at the age of 13 on my own.
Right. Because we don't know where those resources are, right?
I have no idea. And my mom being, just traveling here and barely speaking the language. And, she worked 2 jobs, just try to put food on the table. She didn't know that either. So where would have I gotten the information? Hence why the Millionaire Latina project, my baby, kind of came to be. Right? Because one of the things I learned through my 20 years in finance at JP was there's a lot of lack of information when it comes to finances. There's a lot of myth, right? Oh, I don't have the resources, then I can do XYZ. That is not true. I did not have the resources. I remember being 5, 6, 7, sleeping on people's floors. I remember not having enough to eat. I remember we only had one backpack for a while. That's all I had. And I can go back and say, oh, look at what I was given. Look what I started off with. No, I made a conscious decision. You have to make a conscious decision that things can be different, that you can change your circumstances, you can change your family circumstances. And things just happen. And this woman came into my life and she gave me the information and the guidance. And I was able to apply and go and do these things. So the same way I try to give guidance and information now to my folks that work with me, because you can make a difference and you can change and things can be very different.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing that. But I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about what happened. I mean, you took us through that journey up to when COVID hit. And right before we jumped on, I was telling you that your story that you share in Hispanic Stars Rising was very relatable in so many different ways to people, because we were all in this pandemic, because we were all going through all this instability and fear and so much. But what stood out to me was your courage to do something different. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, absolutely. I can tell you at that moment I feel like courage. I feel like, oh my God, I'm losing it. But I think looking back at my mom's story, kind of like she did it, she reinvented herself at 20 years old with a 5-year-old, and I remember having this conversation with her. So at that point, so a little background before I tell you, in New York City, so I have a daughter. At that point, she was 12. So funny enough, that pivotal kind of age again. And because New York City was considered kind of ground zero for COVID, everything stopped. So if you were in New York, you know what I'm saying? Everything absolutely stopped. I mean, when we say there were fridges of like bodies, they were, because the hospitals were so overwhelmed with what's going on. And if you put on the news, all you saw was 10,000 people died today, 20,000 people died today. So my daughter spent her entire middle school, 2 years in front of a computer. And she's a single child. That was her education. That was her middle school. She never actually attended middle school in person. My mother moved in with us because, again, trying to make sure we're all safe, right? And this is where we were. And it was just, you seen this on the news, and eventually it starts to take a toll on you, even as a grown up. And then my daughter started having all these just kind of depressed with what she was feeling and dealing. She couldn't go outside. I mean, we learned that we need human connection. Oh my God. We need human connection. It is one of our pivotals, what makes us who we are. And then I had at JP Morgan, I had a role where it was customer facing. So then you hear about a bunch of customers passing away, some of your employees passing away. I mean, it's just, everything felt like the world was ending, right? So here I have a daughter that is not doing well. New York City was still closed. She was about to start high school. And I'm thinking, she starts high school and goes to high school this way, I'm going to lose my kid. Even for myself and my mental health and my mom's mental health, Mike, I started getting sick, and it was really the stress on my body. I said, I got to do something dramatically different here. And it's just happened that I love Florida. Florida is a beautiful place. Miami's a beautiful place. It's close to Dominican Republic. So it's like an hour and a half flight, which is where most of my family is. And they were open, 100% open. Like, you came here and you asked about COVID, and they were like, what are you talking about? That ended like 2 years ago. Which I thought was very funny at the moment. And their school was open and everything was open. And I made the decision at that point, and I talked to my mom about this, like, we have to move. We have to move. And I don't know anyone in Florida or Miami. I've been here like 4 times. Like, I don't know. So, and she's like, where are we moving to? I said, we got to go somewhere like Miami, right? It's a city, it's open, she can go to school, it's close to the Dominican Republic. If a family thing arises, and then you maybe can move there because now she's retired. And for me to do that, I had to give up my 20-year career.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm now a single parent, no job, with a 13-year-old, telling a 13-year-old and your mother, like, we're moving to Florida. And we sold everything we had. And, you know, and I was terrified, but I had to do it because I really felt that was the only option. And I had to get out of this current situation we were in. So we moved to Miami, literally picked my apartment like just on a map, like click, and hope that it looked like the picture on the Zillow that I had signed. Thank God it did when I got there. 'Cause I'm thinking, if this doesn't look like that, this 13-year-old, beyond killing me already, is going to kill me some more. And it did. And then I went around and I looked for these schools and got her into a great schools. It took a couple of weeks and it all like started to work out, right? And then thank God I'm in finance. I'm a banker, so I had a little thing on the side that I can take some time to settle them in. And I got here. But that was really, really scary, right? And don't get me wrong, even when I was here months into it, I would be like, what was I thinking? Did I do the right thing? Oh my God. Because it's one of those things only time will tell.
Right. And how was it for you to do that huge transition, leaving everything that you knew that you were comfortable with? I mean, I get at that moment things were not comfortable because of the situation, but meaning a career,
relations, friends, like nobody, like nothing. Like I show up here, I don't even know the street I'm in, right? And I remember saying, okay, I have to have a plan, right? Okay, so the first thing was getting her to school. I started researching a bunch of schools, go visiting these schools. I took her around to the schools. Okay, which ones do we like? That was number one priority. We got her into school. Then I'm like, okay, what am I going to do next?
Right.
We got to find a community. You got to find a community. We learned, right, that one of the biggest things is like we need other people. So I'm a really good, I always been involved with Alpha in New York, which is the American Latino Association.
Mm-hmm.
I call my good friend and I said, hey, who is the chapter president here in Miami? I need to meet people. I need to understand the landscape and what's happening. And I called him and he told me, call, this person. And I did call him. And the third day here, I went to visit him. I made my first friend, and then he introduced me to some other people. And then I just did I looked up Meetup, which is this thing online that it tells you all the events happening in your area. And I just started showing up.
Beautiful.
And that's how I started making friends.
Yeah.
I knew that I needed to find a community. I needed to start understanding the landscape that I had made the choice to move to. So in my head, I had a sort of a plan to try to understand the choices I have made and where they can lead to. But it's super scary. And I think that's the hardest part, not knowing and the feeling that you get.
And I think what I love so much about this is that aside from all that fear and everything, you believed it was going to work. You did it, right? You took that move because you knew that there was something that was going to be better than what your current circumstances were. Now, how it was going to evolve, I mean, we never know how things are going to evolve, but it's holding on to that vision of it's going to work out. I know it is. And it sounds like you just took one step at a time, building that community, building that connection that in that moment we were lacking as a world, right? Just as in population, we were lacking that connection. And so in that journey, how does Millionaire Latina come about?
So in that journey, and so my mantra, funny you say, is it was one day at a time. That was my mantra for the first year I was here. So now I've been in Miami 4 years. My daughter's about to graduate high school. I know, it's crazy. And she's going to, funny enough, right? So that led her to go visit University of Central Florida, and that's where she's going now. She loves it. I don't think we've had ever, so going back these pivotal moments in your life, we had ever visited, because when we were in New York, it was Columbia, which I went to, New York University, maybe some stuff in like Boston University. But because we're here now, her life is now taking a slightly different direction because she fell in love with Florida as well.
Yeah.
So as I'm sitting here and I'm trying to figure out, hey, do I want to go back to banking in the big firm, just like I've done for the last 20 years? I can make some phone calls, I can do that. But I decided this might be my only opportunity for me to do something that I always wanted to do and do it differently. Like I'm already here and I don't have anywhere to go. Like, what does that look like? And I always wanted to just focus my time on specifically Latinas. And yes, I have guys, so don't take that. I have men in my who I work with, and all different kind of, I have all different, not just Latinas, right? Uh, when it comes to financial literacy, because that
Mhm.
is one of our biggest hurdles, right?
Yeah.
So learning about financial literacy, being in a room where you can ask the questions and not feel stupid about the questions you're asking, having that guidance. And the more and more I talked about this and started meeting people, I realized there's a massive need for that, of people just getting coaching and being able to sit with someone and not being afraid or ashamed because they don't understand or they haven't done anything. I don't care if you're 30, 40, 50, right? And I said, that's the impact I want to make. I have all this knowledge, all this education, all this experience. How can I take it and do something that I love, which is teaching others and giving back to others? So that's how Millionaire Latina was born. So a year and change into it, I go, that's it. It's Millionaire Latina. Why? Because again, when you search up Latinas that are millionaires, or not much comes up. But
Mhm.
again, it's about redefining that, what that means for you in context, so that I can teach you, I can guide you, and then you take that information and give it to your family, your kids, your cousin, and one person can make a difference, right? And now I have families that like, oh my God, now we have a savings account. Oh my God, now I have a plan for my kids to go to college. Now I have money for my kids to go to college. Their lives will be different because, again, knowledge and information and coaching that they got.
Yeah. And you said something right at the beginning that I think is super important and powerful. And it's that wealth, or feeling like a millionaire, or being a millionaire, is different for everybody. And identifying what that means to you as an individual is key. Like, you have to know what being wealthy means to you, because a lot of people automatically tie it to money,
The
right?
dollar signs, absolutely. And it's not. It's not.
It's
You gotta figure out what does that mean to you. Like Chris, what does that mean to you? I have clients that said, I just don't want to have debt. I'm happy with that. I don't have to have millions in the bank. Okay, then let's make that happen. What does that mean to you, Chris? If I asked you what being a millionaire, what does that mean to you?
Oh my gosh, to me, being a millionaire at heart, to me, is having the ability to enjoy my life daily with the people that I love, living in my purpose. Because if I know that I'm in that space, it's only going to multiply. And ultimately, yes, it's going to be all the dollar signs that are behind it, but I can't get there if I don't start within.
Yeah,
And so I can define myself as a millionaire, or feel very wealthy, even without having the dollar signs. Because first you have to be okay within.
yeah,
I have to identify what that true wealth means to me.
yeah,
Because once I'm there and I'm pouring into others
yeah.
from that space, the money is a byproduct of it.
Correct. Correct. So you just identify your Milli Latina feeling. That is the right, and you can remind yourself of that feeling every day. And it's what I'm doing right now towards that feeling, or am I in this negative space and this mindset of I can't do it? Lack. What do you mean? Look, making 100,000 is the same shit. Sorry, making a million is just an extra zero,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is the feeling and the activity is what you have that.
Right.
So that's what I help my folks do.
And I love that because there's a lot of work to be done in our Latina community with that.
Yeah.
And, to no one's fault, right? But so many Latinos, especially here in the US, that immigrated, that came from a place of hardship at one point or another, there may be some limiting beliefs around money that could have been passed down. I know I had a lot of limiting beliefs around money that still try to make their appearances in my life, right? But as we let go of those things and we reprogram our minds to that mindset of what it is to be a millionaire for you, that's where we begin to see that transformation. That's where you begin to change the programming in your children and the people around you. And I believe that's where, that generational wealth mindset starts to develop.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, like, I've developed 5 steps to becoming a millionaire. And it's everything. Like, you start with the basics, and then you move how to make money and how to grow your money and how to protect it, right? So that it becomes very simple kind of steps you can follow, right? And again, but it starts the first chapter. So my book is coming out by June, July. It does start with the mindset around it. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta believe it's okay. And I love sharing my story because I said, look, I had nothing. So it's not like I came from this place where I had parents that were knowledgeable and we had resources like nothing. So if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Absolutely. So before we start to wrap up here, you're going to have to tell us how people can get a hold of you if they want to connect with you, if they want to learn more about Millionaire Latina or just get your perspective or have any questions for you. What's the easiest way for them to get a hold of you?
So I have a bunch of ways to get to me through social media. Like, if you look up Jeannie Marmol, exactly as you see it on the screen, I come up immediately on IG. I have a website, www.jeanniemarmol.com. I have a website for Millionaire Latina, so it's millionairelatina.com. You can look me up on LinkedIn. My name comes. So I made it very easy. Pretty much, if you type in my name on Google, a bunch of stuff comes up about me. And you can click on any of those. You can send me a direct message through IG, through LinkedIn, whatever's easier for you. You can go to my website, sign up to the newsletter. Whatever is easy for you, you can find me. So I'm very easy to find, which is
Beautiful.
good.
Now, what is that final message that you want to leave the audience with?
My final message is, do not let your circumstances define you. Do not. Your past experiences, your current experiences, anything is possible and you can make that change, right? And yes, it's going to be scary, right? And I get that fear still. So don't think my life is perfect and all that. There's every day, right? I have another business now that I'm working on that I'm like, oh my God, what am I thinking? But what I have learned, Chris, is you're going to feel the fear anyway. So just embrace it. It's part of it. Someone asked me, one of my clients asked me, does the fear ever go away? And I said, no.
It just moves into the new thing, right?
It doesn't. And she goes, so how do you do it? You learn how to embrace it. Because believe it or not, it's actually what's going to help you get even to a better state than you thought.
Yeah. Jeannie, thank you so much for sharing your story, for taking us through that journey of where you started and where you're at today and how you help and support others, because I know that there is someone out there who is going to come across this, who is going to hear it, where they're going to hear something that you said that is meant for them, that is meant to inspire them, that is going to be just exactly what they needed to hear in that moment that they hear your message. So thank you so much, Jeannie, for your time. I appreciate everyone who is either tuning in live or going to catch the replay in any one of our platforms that it's being streamed. And this is my invitation to all of you to be open, to share your stories, to step into the unknown. And, you've got Jeannie that is available to answer any questions you have that, about anything that she shared that piqued your interest. And I'm here to support you in your journey of sharing your story, because I know that when we do share those deepest moments of our life, that's where our superpower is hidden. It's in those moments. And it's my invitation to all of you who are listening. If you would love to, share your story in one of our upcoming collaboration books, this is my invitation to you. We have 5 books that are coming out this year, and there's a space available for you. Reach out to me. I'll put that contact information there in the comments. Just reach out, and we're here to support you through your journey and through your message. So thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure being here and hosting this series with some pretty amazing individuals and incredible authors, who the majority of the ones in this series have been a part of Hispanic Stars Rising. So last time here is the book. You'll get a chance to get inspired by so many different authors, and that is our invitation to you. Grab your copy, connect with everyone, and until next time, I hope you've had the opportunity to enjoy every single one of our guests, and we'll see you very soon with different guests and new focus. Until next time.